Juggalos in recovery. Juggalos in recovery. Juggalos in recovery.
Today is Truly Alone. We're focusing on the benefits of being alone. The song is pretty fucking sad and depressing, but it doesn't always have to be like that. If you're on that solo journey, either by choice or you are isolated or all your friends suck ass, or if you just happen to be alone a lot more often than you like, this is the type of shit that we needed to talk about. The lyrics of the song may seem dark, disturbing, but they do kind of highlight the fact that being alone can have its benefits. Being alone can provide people with a sense of independence, self reliance, and this modicum of freedom that you may not get to have in large groups of people or even just being around a singular other person. It can also be a great time for self reflection and focusing on your own inner growth. One of the benefits of being alone is the ability to have complete control over your time. You get to have complete control over what you choose to do, what you choose not to do. You also have the ability to have complete control over your own space when you're by yourself. You can do whatever you want in your own space, and there's not anybody there to tell you not to.
Other than the
There's
voices
no
in
need
your head.
exactly, but there's no need to consider anybody else's schedules, nobody's preferences or needs when you're making decisions when you're by yourself. This can be particularly important for ninjas who are
Oh shit!
introverted or need a lot
Oh,
of alone time to recharge. Another benefit of being alone is that it can allow for greater self discovery and personal growth. When you are alone, you have the opportunity to explore your own interests, passions, reflect on your own thoughts and feeling without having to worry about other people's judgments. You have the ability to fuck up when you're by yourself and not have to apologize to a single soul for being yourself or making a mistake or just being who you are. You don't have to hide anything because you're by yourself. There's nobody else there to lend a judging eye towards you. It can also provide this dope sense of freedom, this independence. When you're not accountable to anybody else, you have the ability to make your own decisions, to live life on your own terms. This can be really liberating for people who feel trapped or constrained by social expectations or obligations. We are prime examples of people that don't really fit in with social expectations. We don't really look like your average everyday walk of life person. Now, when you're by yourself, you can be everything you want to be, and nobody's there to look at you sideways. Nobody's there to give you that rude remark. Being alone can provide peace and tranquility without distractions or demands from others. You can focus on creating a calm and relaxing environment or a chaotic and stressful environment. And that's 100% on you. Nobody else puts you in that position, and nobody else as it can tell you to change what it is that you're doing in that moment. And a lot of the time that can be a huge benefit, especially when you're working through something difficult. But it's also important to note that there's also problems being alone for extended periods of time. For some ninjas, isolation can lead to feelings of loneliness, depression, delusion, chaotic everything. You can have full psychotic breaks. Sure, that can happen. But you also have this online community to lean on for when you do start feeling like you're going too far in one direction or another. We're here to try to help you bring a balance between solitude and social interaction in a way. But we're also there for that support. In the end of this, though, while being alone may not be for everybody, there are certainly benefits to be gained from spending time by yourself. It can provide that sense of independence if that's what you're looking for, give you that time or that space to do that self discovery, that self reflection, or just a place where you don't have any other distractions and you can be at peace. And with that, I'm going to open it up to the room and see if you guys have any shit to say about that.
Now, if there's one thing I know about, it's being alone. And all those benefits you were saying, God, I've been in this psychotic breakdown for like 2 years, and I feel like I never get a second of peace to myself because I can't scratch my nuts in the privacy of my own trailer without like a dozen voices in my head going off and giving me shit for scratching my nuts in the privacy of my own fucking trailer. So I don't really get any of those benefits. I still get it does offer me the opportunity to pay more attention, focus more on meditation and my inward journey and figuring myself out. But spending a little too much time alone can make you go psychotic. And I've been kind of just stuck in this psychotic state for years where I never feel like I get a second of peace to myself, but nobody's ever here. So it's almost worse. It's worse than being alone. I'm working
Yeah,
on it and figuring it out.
yeah, believe me, I'm actually a little bit too familiar with that myself. Have you sought out any type of real psychiatric care to try to
I'm
quiet your
kind
voices?
I'm kind of trying to work on it, but the mental health care in Humboldt is pretty atrocious.
Yeah, well, one of the big things that I've had to tell anybody that's looking for a very specific type of mental health help is don't be afraid to switch doctors. If your doctor isn't doing shit for you, go find a new one. Find somebody who will work with you and knows what it is you're trying to accomplish and keep looking. Don't be afraid to, switch between 5 and 6 doctors in a month if that's what it's going to take. Because in the end, this is all
Yeah,
about you. This is your health. You're in control of it.
yeah, it's become unmanageable.
Now, the doctors are only there to facilitate you getting help. And if they aren't equipped or prepared or willing or able to provide you the type of help that you need, keep going to find new ones. That's all it takes. When I was dealing with my partner going through early stages of schizoaffective disorder with bipolar,
That's
we
what
had
I
to go
got.
through about 12 different psychiatrists before we found one that was able to properly diagnose and then medicate.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to continue to bounce around. Don't feel defeated just because you find one person that doesn't give a fuck. Maybe you feel defeated when you find 100, but keep going until you find what it is that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just live way out in the middle of nowhere. There's like one doctor up here. I got psychiatric appointments with the nut house that I got out of on the 9th, I think. But it's to the point that when I make a psych appointment, I could only make it out like 2 months in advance. And I don't know. Mental health care, it's really hard to get up here where I live.
Mental
One
Yeah,
of
health
the
care
things
is
we're lacking.
that's everywhere, unfortunately.
it is,
But
man. You
there,
got to book like months out in advance, like just as far out as you can go. As soon as you get into the office, just don't even think about. Just tell them you want like every Friday or every Wednesday, as far out as they can go.
yeah. Another thing though is because of COVID, it expanded telehealth exponentially. So
Mm-hmm.
reach
Yeah.
out to your neighboring counties, your neighboring cities, call all of
Mm-hmm.
their shit, see what they offer for telehealth for psychiatry, because the majority of what you're dealing with can be dealt with over a phone call, a video call, whatever their protocol is. You don't necessarily have to travel all the way out there.
Hell yeah, man. And don't be afraid to walk away because it's the same shit they
Mm-hmm.
talk about in medicine right now. They know a lot, but a lot of them can't connect to people. If your therapist is some brainiac who can't connect with you, walk away, man, because you got to be able to trust your doctor and your therapist and have like a genuine connection with them to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else want to say some shit before I stop the recording? And Mr. Concrete.
You got anything
Oh, there we go.
concrete?
Yes. When I was using near the end, I had a house, and it was a 1-bedroom house, and I kept letting people in because I didn't want to be alone, and that lack of space really killed me. It was a lot of negative people, almost destroyed me. And when I got sober, I mean, living in sober living houses helped me out a lot, having somebody there to talk to. But now I live by myself. I've lived by myself for a little over a year, and it has really made and it's been nice. I'm not gonna lie. I'm going through something right now because my son, I brought my son out here, and he lives in Florida. I live in Washington, and he finally got to meet his grandparents and stuff. And it got to the point where his mom, to my shock, actually asked if I wanted to take him. And now she gave him to some family in Georgia without me okaying it. And I'm stressed out about it. But part of it's my fault because I hesitated. Because I'm kind of used to being by myself now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if I was mentally capable of handling and fixing the problem because he's been caught stealing packages from like people's doorsteps.
Mm-hmm.
He's on like a bad rebellious stage, and I wanted to make sure he wanted to be here too, because if he didn't, like, I felt like he'd fight me the whole way, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to get through it's just been tough, but like I'm also just really used to being by myself, and now I feel guilty about that, not sure what to do. But I have learned, but long story short, as long as I stay sober and keep working on me, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be useless to him if I start to self-destruct.
Dude, you're a dope ass dad. Are you kidding? Like
Yeah,
asking him if he wants to like move out there, considering how he feels, and then trying to make sure it's his own decision. You're not forcing him into it. There's nothing to feel guilty or ashamed about that. Like you're doing your homework as a dad, because that shit is tough, man. Going from like one state to another, having to create a whole new social group at that age. Like you're killing it, man.
yeah, you're right. I just felt it was right. I took some advice from my own dad, and it's stuff out of my control. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
also worried, like, like he's grown up without a dad for so long. It's like, what if he gets into drugs? What if he's into drugs and I don't know about it or something? And then
Mm-hmm.
and then I got this kid living with me with a drug problem, and I don't know what to do with it
Yeah.
because I can't be around it. My sobriety has to come first.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's also me overthinking shit. Like,
So here's the reality of this situation, though. You can talk to any parent. They don't know what they're doing more often than they know what they're doing. I'm sure D can attest to that. Go ahead,
yeah.
D.
I don't know shit about shit. I got 2 kids. Oh my god, kids are nuts, bro. Listen, I'll
What
tell
do you
you the
mean?
first time I was in active addiction, and I can tell you my oldest son, he's 11 now. I remember he took a $20 bill, a pack of cigarettes, 2 double shots of Fireball, and hid it in the laundry basket. Right? I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like I looked all over every part of the house. I ain't looking in the dirty clothes basket. He goes and pulls out a dirty clothes basket after I done lost my mind. And I scared the living shit out of him over that. I was just like, what the fuck you think you're doing? Like, you think I want to be doing this shit? Like, I don't want you doing that shit. But the best thing I could ever do with my kid is to be there for him and be an open book, right? Because all my kid really wants is dad to show him the way, dad to show him love, and me living a sober lifestyle these days and showing him the things I do and being an open book with my past, like, actually helps with me, like, steering them from the direction I was in, you know. Um, or else my son might be your son in like 2 years just bucking because, you know, I wasn't showing him nothing, or I was always, you know, like telling him don't do this, don't do that, but never explaining anything, you know. Like,
Mhm.
he's pretty much
I
open to
just,
come ask me anything and get a reply and know that I'm just going to talk to him like he's my homeboy and I'm going to tell him the truth about whatever it is he's asking, you know. I don't give him
Well,
that, you're a kid, do as I tell you, you know what I mean? I have
yeah,
to give a
yeah,
reason behind it, you know.
then you
Mhm.
also have this other thing. So you're afraid of your son going through the same type of shit that you've already been through.
You're the guy
That's
to
yeah,
push
that's
him
a
away.
that's a huge, huge thing. If it's something like that and it comes up, you have more experience in it than anybody else that he knows. You're
Yeah, that's
going to
what I'm
be
trying
the
to get at.
greatest
Uh,
resource for that kid if that is the case.
yeah,
So
Mhm.
and
don't be
you're talking about
afraid
being,
of the unknown. Embrace what it is and adapt when shit starts changing.
yeah, you're talking about
Yeah.
you're worried if the kid may like it or not. He may not like it at first. You know what I mean? How much over time y'all spend apart, but you're the perfect force. You're the male role model. You're the one with the life experience. You're the one for everything. So he might buck a little bit at first or get wild, but you know, if it's discipline and not, you know, you got a line where there's a point where it's disciplining and explaining and teaching to where it's ineffective
Mhm.
because, you know, you're just screaming or you just whoop their ass and you don't tell them anything about anything, you know. But you
oh
have you
yeah,
have the history to go through all that with them. Like, that's kind of like the perfect thing, you know, because you have your whole life experience to teach with them. Like I'm saying, like what I do with my son is I talk to him like he's a grown ass man and he's 11.
yeah.
Anything he asks, you know, I don't sugarcoat it with him. And that's how he gets his real
Mhm.
life experience, or else he's going to get it from the other kids at school. He's going to get it from YouTube.
So
He's going to get it from all these places that ain't no good for him, anyways, because it's not honest, you know?
I
Mhm.
talked to him like I was supposed to talk to another alcoholic, you know, like, well, I just told him my experience. By that, I mean, I just told him, like, because I thought that he may have stolen it for somebody else because he said it wasn't there anymore, like,
Mhm.
whatever he took. And so I just started telling him this story about, like, how there was a guy that I looked up to and I would do crimes for him. And I went to jail, I did time for him and everything. But, like, and then I ended up finding out the guy told on some people later on. Like, if I hadn't backed away from him, he may have put me in prison or something. And he was just,
Mhm.
he was like, wow, like, actually kind of scared me how intrigued he was by it. Like like he was in the life, you know.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, but he was intrigued by it because because you know, like, you know, if you were to talk to a practicing drunk, you know, you don't just walk up to him and tell him you need to do this, you need to do that. You talk
Mhm.
to him. You just tell them
Yeah.
about your experience, and usually they connect with it. And then after that, they kind of want to listen to you.
Well, I mean,
Mhm.
I'm a firm believer that, you know, genetics plays a part. You know, my dad, my grandpa, they're both hardcore. You know, my dad did everything. He's a trash can like me, and my grandpa's a functioning alcoholic. So,
Yeah.
like, that plays a part. You know, that's your son. You know what I mean? So you're going to be the biggest influence, um, to push them away or not. And like that, like you're saying, talk to them like as if they're another alcoholic. You know, just in life in general, just talk to them as a friend
Yeah.
instead of uh enforcer, and that makes a world difference, you know, right then, because then they won't be scared to ask you a question or tell you what's going on or tell you what they're thinking, you know, and that's the hardest thing is to break down that wall with the, you know, in a relationship like that, especially when you go, you know, kids automatically raised go, that's dad and mom, and I gotta listen, like that's authority, you know, like I let my
Mhm.
kid express himself and do all types of stuff. I get in the car with him, I'll be like, here's my phone, you're the DJ. And he'll just put on some music, and a lot of it I like, and he's sitting there cussing and singing and doing whatever. And I'm like, okay, when we get out the car,
Hell yeah.
don't act like that in public. We're good though, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, the music you listen to great.
Yeah,
Makes me laugh. I'm glad I talked to you guys before it was too late. It's not too late.
it's never too
Nah,
late.
Just gotta
Hey,
man.
figure.
It's
it's never
never.
too late. One of my best friend's daughter was in foster care, and she hadn't had custody of her for years and years and years, and she ended up getting custody back of her daughter. So I mean, anything's possible. So
Hell yeah, man.
Here's the biggest thing. All that's really required at this point is effort. You put forth the effort, you're gonna get something back. Something is better than if you
Yeah.
don't know what's going on right this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out, try to make things happen. Things may be different than what you expect they are. The thing is this is such a huge unknown for you, since you said that they're with a family member or friend that you weren't aware of. Reach out,
Yeah,
try to
like he's
establish
already,
that relationship.
yeah, he's already
Oh
in a
yeah.
different state now. I'm like already with him, but yeah, I will
I
do that.
mean, and at the end of the day too, right? You're talking about like not knowing what to do or knowing if you're fit. Like no parent knows if they're good at being a parent. They just try their best. That's life,
Hell yeah.
in general. And then I also wanted to touch on something A-Dub was talking about. He was talking about in his addiction, like just having a whole bunch of people around and not feel alone, right? I went through that same thing. I'd fill myself with all these fair weather friends to not feel alone and then still not feel a part of, you know what I mean? And in
Mm-hmm.
recovery, like I do have a group of people I feel a part of, bro. But I can still go to a meeting and feel completely alone. I can go to a crowd and feel completely alone. I can go anywhere and feel completely alone. And that's a shitty feeling. But when I choose to be
Mm-hmm.
alone at home just because I want my me time and my peace and my whatever, that's a good feeling. You know what I mean? And not as often these days do I walk out and I just feel like I'm a lone person in the world. You know what I mean? Because that's a dark feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't force myself to be a part of nothing that I don't have to be a part of. You know what I mean? I surround myself with the people that actually appreciate me coming around and being around, so I don't put efforts in like fair weather friends and that kind of type of shit. Like at the end of the day, I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm fine no matter who's around or what I'm doing, and I do what I like, and I don't really care what nobody thinks. If I like it, I like it, and if they think it's stupid, that's them, and I don't give a fuck. I like what I
Hell
like.
yeah.
I like to dress how I dress. I like to wear what I like to wear. I like to do what I do, and like Frank says, you find these friends with common interests in certain things, right? So I know I can relate and
Mm-hmm.
talk to you about these common interests, right? So you're my friend group for this. You're my friend group for that. You're my friend group for that, right? And you know, it's good to have those different friend groups that you can hang out with and relate to on certain levels, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if all you're doing is like going and going and going to have a sense of feeling of belonging to where all your time is consumed about other people, that's a bad thing.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
like me and Chris were talking before the meeting, like that Truly Alone song, that was me in my darkest hours, alcohol and drugs, where I was trying to push away the world, you know what I mean? And felt
Mm-hmm.
completely alone. Didn't matter how many Juggalo homies were around me, how many people I knew my whole life. It didn't matter who was. Like I just felt like all these dark, bitter emotions inside of me that nobody else was experiencing. This pain and misery that I was feeling every day. But
Hell
then I
yeah.
get sober and I find out there's a ton of people that experience the same type of shit. You know what I mean? Whether they be
Mm-hmm.
Juggalos or people in other fellowships, the feelings of that bitter loneliness, we've all went through that, man. That deep dark regret and anger and resentments and all that shit. We all went through those same dark feelings, and that is part of why we drank and drug the way we did. And
Mm-hmm.
to learn peace while you're sober, peace with yourself, and being happy with yourself, and be able to learn how to actually just be comfortable while you're alone. You know what I mean? Is a great
Mm-hmm.
feeling. So when Chris was saying this is the song topic, but we're going positive, I was like, I never thought about that song as a positive song.
No, me
But
neither, man.
you twist it the right way. Like there is positivity because once you reach a certain stage in your sobriety, like you're comfortable being alone, doing your own thing and enjoying your own things, and you're not worried about impressing this person or fitting in with this person. You're just doing what you love to do. And
Yeah.
you being yourself doing what you love to do are going to attract the right friends around you. Where
Hell
like
yeah.
Concrete was saying, you're just hanging around with all these friends and it was nothing but negativity. That's because I was trying to I did the same thing, filling a void with fake friendships. And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
when I go to prison and my life's in the shambles, or I'm homeless, or I'm this or that, who's there? Nobody. You know what I mean? They were there for the good time, not for a long time. And those aren't the ones I try to surround myself with these days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna shut up.
One of the biggest things that you can also really take away from this is at the end of the day, at the end of your life, no matter what, no matter how good you were in life, how bad you were in life, you're only ever going to have you. You are the
Oh,
only
yeah.
thing that truly matters in life. If you don't take the time to take care of you, you don't get to take care of others. You don't get to give yourself to others. So you needs to be your primary priority. And part of that is taking time for yourself by yourself. Because you
Mhm.
can't always expect that everybody's always going to be around. Because nobody is around forever. Period. The only
Mhm.
person that you ever are going to have as a constant is yourself.
And
But with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording in the live stream, and then we can get
I
back to
want to say
bullshit.
hi to the new person, Bo, that I've never seen before. What's up?